Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm Evan. This is Origin Painting, and this is the complete first founding. And this terrain project starts where all good projects start, the dollar store. Or at least, the European equivalent of one. Since this is the first time I've really done a build like this, I wanted to keep it cheap, wanted to dip my toes in without overcommitting. So I grabbed a nice photo frame, lots of white glue, some LEDs that I could use. I'll show you those later on. And then after that, I just wound up buying some purple foam insulation, and that's the basis of most of what I got in here, minus all the stuff I had sitting around in a bits box. The next problem I had to tackle was I have nowhere near enough space to do this in my painting setup, so I'm gonna have to make a couple modifications. So I grabbed all the paints off of this section of my desk and put them where else? On the treadmill, right? Because that's where everything goes. After I had that cleared off, I had a decent enough workspace that was large enough for me to set up, and I felt okay about. Whatever you do, definitely don't take this as a step-by-step guide. It's my first time, and I learned a lot doing this. I'm sure I'll do some more, and I'm certain I'll get better with every one. But when I wanted to figure out what I was doing, I looked at some other guys. RFD Hobbies was one of them. He has a burning barrel video, and I definitely took that for some of the stuff in here. But let's get back to what's going on. So what I'm doing is cutting this purple foam down just enough to fill the inside of the frame, but still have some tension on the outside. I'm then going to reinstall the backer on the photo frame just to make sure it holds in place. I want to have a little bit of terrain elevation change, so I sliced this section off, and I'll sculpt that a lot more later on. And here's the first of many mistakes to come. I didn't even think about the fact that all that white glue is just going to seep right through. So I'll wipe that back up and use it. It's there, why not? After that, I'll just get a little bit of water on there. This isn't actually airbrush thinner, don't worry. Not like I'm made of money. Normal water works just fine for cleanup. Next up is these LED lights. I really like these. It's a flickering, non-constant light. Perfect for a little bit of fire, but overall they're just much too large. So I had to pop the tops off and reduce the surface area of these quite a bit. I've got my first one pushed into the terrain here, and now I'm going to start shaping that first hill. And for your first PSA of the day, never cut towards yourself. There you go, stay safe. Not sure what I'm doing wrong or how many of you guys have this, but my super glue always gets super tough. Pliers really help get that thing open. The super glue is a really good adhesive for this. The only downside is when I put it on really thick, it actually winds up burning through that rigid insulation. It wasn't anything I couldn't overcome, it's just some little spots. I'll work them in. It'll be little imperfections in the ground. Definitely nothing that would look out of place on a battlefield. I do want to use this black frame as the final product. Wasn't thinking I was going to paint it, so I'm just going to go ahead and mask it off to try and keep it nice and clean. Alright, quick change of scenery. I hear it helps keep interest. Going out to my garage just to grab a 1-inch bit. I'm going to drill these holes for the LEDs, and after that's done, it'll be right back to the painting table. Grabbing my trusty pliers again, reseating these LEDs as far down in there as I can get them, and give them a little test. Sure enough, there they are, looking good. At this point, I'm just going to grab some of the scrap that I used, some of the stuff that I cut off the hill and off that crater, just scatter it around to create an uneven surface. One thing I really want to avoid is a flat, uniform battlefield, because that's just not realistic. Then again, we're talking about gigantic space soldiers, so what's realism got to do with it? Now I'm going to grab some of my Vallejo earth texture, and this is arts and crafts time right now. This is probably the funnest part of the entire project, to be honest. Once this is done, I'm going to have to let it cure overnight. And here we are the next day, ready to get back to it. Paste looks like it's set up nicely, got a nice firm surface on it, and we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and strip the tape off just to remove that excess earth texture from the edge. Frame's still nice and clean, don't have to worry about that. I'm going to use a little bit of water to try and get some of the earth texture off these barrels, and then I'm going to tape it back up. Once that's done, I'm going back to something I'm much more comfortable with. Grab my airbrush. What I'll be doing here is just creating a lot of variation in the surface. I've got black for the shell craters. Obviously it's going to be burned out. You're going to get a lot of soot and ash, so it's going to be pretty dark around those. Then I'm going to have a couple different browns, some grays, and then a little bit of green. Then on top of that I'm going to put down some more white glue, put a little bit of sand and gravel mixture down, and then I'll come back in over the green areas that I airbrushed and put some flock on there. For the flock I've got a mixture of my bright and my dark green. It gives a nice variation inside of the flock itself, doesn't look completely uniform. Now for the smoke coming out of the craters. I wanted this to have an underglow from that LED, so I wanted it to be fluffy, puffy. I've never done this before and I didn't have cotton buds, so I had these cotton pads that I had to tear up. And then I tried to get a little bit of PVA glue onto them to help me make that structure and to keep it where I needed it. And then after that, it was back to the airbrush, putting a little bit of red in, and then coming back and putting black in to make it that nice dark cloud. I'm going to start doing a little bit of dry brushing across my wall. I'm trying to just pick up the high points and also focus on the top of it. I'm going to leave the bottom of it super grungy, super dirty, but the upper surface I want to be a gray with some nice white lines on it. Make it a little bit more interesting than what it is now. And what really helps with that grunge and grime is some of these enamel washes. This stuff gets in there, it's really, really good. It settles and it looks really nice. There's a reason they use them as scale modeling. After that, I'll dab off a little bit just to get it off the raised surfaces. Put a couple splotches on the base, pull that tape off, and this is what it's looking like. So now, I'm pretty much done with this. I just got to figure out where I want all these models to sit. So I'm just going to put these bases on, play around with them, see what feels right. And then, once I'm happy with the positioning, I'll start gluing the models in. I've got all these models pinned, so the metal rods are just going to go down and the super glue is going to fix them. And there it is. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. The frame's still black, board's colored, not too bad for a first time. Alright, one more final touch. Got some weathering powder. I've got a black, an iron, a green, some tan. It's just going to add more variation, and I'm also making sure that I'm getting this on the feet and the lower legs of these Marines. It just makes sense if they're walking through it that it'll be on them as well, and it helps tie them in. And that is the completion of the first founding. It's been a super fun project. This is probably the most fun I've had modeling, I don't know, in a long time, possibly ever. Last 2 months I've worked on these 9 different color schemes. Now I gotta work on this board. The board's something I haven't done before, and a lot of these color schemes were also things that I haven't done before, so I really gotta push myself. I would definitely recommend, if you guys have stuff sitting around that you're not using, models that you're not painting, get outside your comfort zone, try something new. It was really a blast. Thanks for letting me hang out with you, be part of your day. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed making it. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.